Dun, da, da, da. Facebook Live once again. It is Friday, 1 p.m. Costa Rican time here at Rythmia Life Advancement Center, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Sunny, cloudy, but always warm. We just had some nice rain last night. Beautiful to just sit out in the warm rain, get rained on, maybe sit in a hot tub, something like that. All right, I'm R. Christian Minson, tuning in for our weekly breathwork segments of Rythmia Live, and we have our first two people. Tina from Finland, Sven, with a name like that, I suspect you're from Sweden or such. Let me know where you're from as you're tuning in. Greg, oh my God, perfect. What's the perfect part about there, Greg? And tune in. Hello, Tina. 11 people showing up so far. I will say while I'm waiting for people, Amira, hey, Amira was here recently. Just above, you can see I've got a +1 here over the phone number. For anybody that calling this phone number, it is a U.S. phone number. So a lot of people are getting wrong numbers because they call the Costa Rican number. They use the Costa Rican area code 506. But you can tell if it's a Costa Rican code or not because they have 4 numbers in the prefix and then 4 numbers in the suffix. So here we have 3, 3, and 4. Costa Rica has just 4 and 4 with a +506. So this is a U.S. number. So I'm tuning in as 26 people show up. Teresa from Ohio. Hey there, Greg. I'm a cancer treatment center and just finished getting a treatment. All right. Well, not happy that you're there getting treatment, Greg, but happy you're tuning in. Hopefully this will be food for your soul. Martin, Mimi, who else? Maureen, Philip, Shannon, Greg from Minnesota. Welcome, everyone. And Greg, yesterday I asked my doctor to give me her email so I could send her a picture of me working with a shaman. Excellent, Greg. Martin, hey Martin, and Greg, best food ever. Thank you. Wonderful, Martin. Greg, sorry. And glad you're here. Sarah Sinclair, hey, Sarah joined. Debbie Garcia joined. Hey, Debbie, I've got this flyers for you now, or I've got the updated, corrected flyer I'll send you. Kristen from Florida, hello. We're up to 32. I usually wait till we get about the 50 mark, and then we get started in a big way. Tell me where you're from if you want, and if you want to, see a few names that have seen me before. What do you think of the new haircut? Nobody's mentioned anything there. Felt like I had to do it. Turned 50 recently, if you can believe that, and felt like this was just a good shift, good reset. It won't last forever, but take it all off and then let it grow back. Lauren loves it. Hey, great, thanks. Davina, hello from New York. Glenn J. Adams, hey, Glenn. Dio, sharp. Look sharp. Thanks. Less is more. Yes, indeed. Maureen, love it. Looks great. Debbie, awesome. Please do. Okay. Going to see Kyle C's in a couple days. Okay. That will get me on the ball to send that stuff to you. David, Ronald, Dio, Ronald. Okay. So I think we got up. Come on. We're still it's a little slow in the uptake today. 42. Jose, thank you, kind. Oh, Joey. Yeah. Debbie. Looks cool, literally. Yeah, it is cool. Definitely it does not trap the heat in there. Perfect shaped head. Thanks there, Kristen. Bridget from Germany, hey there. So, all right, 43. Well, we either go for 5 minutes or up to 50. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. Excuse me. Welcome, everybody. Please come on in. Give me hearts, likes, whatever as you're joining on. But My name is R. Christian Minson with Rythmia Life Advancement Center here in Guanacaste, California, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. And I am the director of the breathwork program here at Rythmia. I'm a certified transformational breath facilitator. I'm senior trainer with the Transformational Breath Foundation for the last 12 years. I was a former monk for 10 years. Maybe this is sporting that old monk days there, though we just had normal haircuts back then. I am an international speaker, author of this book back here, contributing anyway, Align, Expand, and Succeed. And here, Facebook Live personality. A lot of you are tuning in, so I'm getting to know y'all, and you're getting to know me. I love it when people come off the bus, and I'm there to greet them. They say, "Hey, Christian," because they've seen me, they've been watching these Facebook Lives, and this is exactly why we do these, is to help people feel more comfortable, feel like you're part of the family already. So I encourage you to ask questions, reach out, be interactive here, so we can develop that relationship, so that when you come here, we already know each other, basically. So today's topic, as John Green is saying, what a great topic. Today's topic is healing ancestral patterns. And yeah, this was actually a topic given to me by a friend of mine, Lily Winesaft. She's a breath facilitator in Florida. She came out here to visit and was helping me brainstorm topics. And we thought that, healing ancestral patterns, because in the breath work, we talk about healing 5 major areas of integration, and other lifetimes is one of those 5, and that dovetails into this healing ancestral patterns today. So that's what we're going to talk about. So let's get right into it. Why this topic? And basically because ancestral patterns affect us all. They're part of our lineage, physically our lineage and our energetic lineage. Why it's important to focus on this topic is that whether you know it or not, these ancestral patterns keep you trapped in a dysfunctional way of being. They can keep you trapped, and if we're needing to heal them, this is why. These patterns can have a disruptive influence on your present life experience. For instance, if you find happiness is constantly elusive, there's probably something in your lineage there. Again, and we'll talk about this. It may be your physical lineage or your energetic lineage. If your relationships can be affected for the negative as a result of these ancestral patterns. If you have money issues, the way that you deal with money, or the way that you don't deal with money, or that money doesn't seem to come to you or flow in an organic and abundant fashion, that may have something to do with your ancestral patterns. And ultimately, these patterns can prevent you from carrying out your life's purpose, and that that might be the most poignant reason why we want to deal with these. What's interesting is these patterns are like water to a fish. It's hard to recognize them a lot of times because, like water to a fish, it's just there, right? A fish doesn't know it's in water until it's out of water, and then there's a contrast. It's like, this water. So if the water for a fish is dirty or polluted or something like that, the fish doesn't really know, because it's just its environment. And so this is our energetic environment. All these patterns are the environment we grew up in. They're the environment that you didn't even question as a child. And that's the diabolical nature of these ancestral patterns, is that they can, like we said, they're there, and they're so present since day one of your life that you take it for granted, and that's the way life is. And so we're going to look at how we can fix that. So ancestral clearing, healing these patterns comprises of learning and healing from these ancestral patterns. In so doing, you release the energetic patterning that's tied to your ancestors. So what are ancestral patterns? These are inherited emotional issues, unhealthy life patterns, habits, and they can be unresolved trauma from your ancestral lineage. Now, when I say ancestral lineage, I don't mean just your family. It could be your gender lineage. It could be your nationality, your country's lineage, your religion, or any subset that you identify with. And that may be part of the issue right here, is identification. As we identify with a certain limited spectrum of who we are, we allow these patterns to influence us, to affect us. So if you believe in past lives, which is part of my philosophical upbringing in the tradition that I was a monk in, we believe that the past lives, that this ancestral patterning you can carry it from lifetime to lifetime. So these are unresolved habits, unresolved energies and patterns that you left the last life with, and you pick up in the next life. In essence, the word for that everybody seems to be familiar with is karma. So our ancestral patterns, in a lot of ways, are karma. Ancestral patterns can be locked into your DNA. It actually can be genetic to a certain degree, and if not genetic, definitely energetic. Some examples of these ancestral patterns: self-image, how we view ourselves in the world, whether we have a high opinion of ourselves or a very low opinion. Perpetuated sexual abuse in families, perpetual physical abuse, racism, phobias around gender, around sexuality, around religion, around foreigners. All of these are examples of how ancestral patterns sort of creep into our lives and our thought patterns. You've heard the old, maybe you've heard, if you're American, you may have heard the Hatfields and the McCoys, that it's like this generational war between two families that live next door to each other. There's a disagreement, and then that just gets carried down the generations. And pretty soon, you don't even know what the disagreement's about. Another great real-world example is like Israel and Palestine. Right? This is an ancestral pattern that continues to perpetuate today. And I dare say probably the majority of people in that conflict don't even really know what the origin of that conflict is. They just want to live peaceful lives, and yet they're propelled by this ancestral patterning. So let's just check in and see if I can say hi to anybody. I just realized your logo looks like a sideways face and a mountain range, the face and the roots and the brain connected through the A and the I. Yes, so exactly here, here, the Rythmia thing. If you haven't noticed this before, this is like, it's a face lying down. Somebody that's in either a breathwork session or a plant medicine session, and then the roots are meant to signify the organic nature of the plant medicine and the processes that we go through here. So some more hellos. So I'm just going to just say hi in a bulk form right now. Lauren, I'm already in love with you all. Thanks there. And so good. We're up to snuff here. So how do we deal with these ancestral patterns? Well, on one level, the whole Rythmia program is perfectly designed to deal with this, you know, in a step-by-step fashion. We have a three-pronged approach. You know, show me who I become, merge me with my soul, and heal my heart. Show me who I become is awareness. You be bringing awareness. Oh, I abused my kids, or I abused my wife, or what it is. This is, I'm finally aware of it. I'm finally, like, it brings that to your consciousness. Now it's like, what do you do about it? Merge me with my soul, which is really means to start to operate from your higher self, not that ego self or that lower self or that reactive patterned self, but a pure channel of spirit, you know, the being guided by your spirit nature. And then heal your heart, which is becoming an expression of unconditional love, which I think is, to me, the highest form of what we're doing here on this planet, to embody love, as in my belief, that's all spirit really is the essence of love. And in fact, all of the world is love. I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. So, you know, I looked online a little bit too, just in researching this topic a little bit, and yeah, you know, I see there's many different approaches to dealing with this topic, many rituals to deal with ancestral patterns, and it's all great. It's symbolic. Rituals are usually a symbolic process, symbolizing your letting go, your giving up. And this helps to some degree to let go, but if you aren't consciously, actively participating in that and not just the symbology, then it can be a slow process. What I like about the breath work is that it really deals directly with your life force energy. As we start working with the breath, we're drawing in more life force energy, the fundamental energy that makes us alive, living, breathing, feeling, moving, thinking beings. And so energetically, as we're working with this, we actually do let go. Where as we bring this higher life force energy into our being, it catalyzes us to actually let go in a big way of these, let go of these patterns. So I've got an outlined, more or less step-by-step process here that we'll go over. And I just want to let you know that it can happen organically too, that as we work with the process of the breath and the plant medicine for that matter, you know, there's a way that outlined how it can work. But oftentimes, you know, on your way up, it goes this way, and then it goes back that way, and then it goes this way, and then, but it's, you know, you're still headed in the right direction. Heather says, we'll be calling next week. All right, so get yourself here. Debbie's in shaman training, beautiful. Anya, hi from Boquete, Panama. Hey, are you ayahuasca tribe? So are you, do you know Raven and Merrill there, Anya? Folks who come here quite regularly to support us from that Boquete tribe in Panama. So Mark Beard, hey Mark, how you doing? All right, so back to how we do this. Now, tying back in love and how life is all love, there's one key here in this whole process, and that's, if you get this, it really can speed the process along, and that is that recognizing that everyone, everywhere, every country, every religion, every culture, every messed up mental attitude is really acting on an unconscious desire to receive unconditional love. So think about that for a minute. You know, everyone, yourself, think about yourself and your motivations. Think about there's this unconscious desire to receive unconditional love. Unconditional love because everything is love. The nature of spirit is love. And the nature of our being is to want to reunite with spirit, merge with your soul and heal your heart, so that it's in the Rythmia language. Because this is our nature, we're driven to unconsciously desire unconditional love. Now, it can become conscious as we realize this, and this is what I'm talking about. So, think about, some people get a little messed up. Like if you've been abused in your family, or let's just take that example of a family abuse that seems to be passed on from generation to generation. Exactly what we're talking about, ancestral patterning here. I think that when it's often perpetuated from generation, the person that gets abused becomes the abuser, and it's often questioned, why is that? What, don't people learn the lesson? And really, if you think about it from this perspective of we're all seeking unconditional love, when you grow up in an environment that's more or less dysfunctional, you're seeking this unconditional love unconsciously. But what's happening is, by and large, pretty much 99.99999% of the time, we're receiving a conditioned form of love. So what we, on a deep core level, start to interpret as unconditional love is this conditioned form of love. And so when people grow up in an abusive environment, rarely is it like just totally abusive, right? It's like just from day one, you're just abused. But there's these mixed signals. It's like you're abused, and then the abusing figure makes up and loves you and hugs you or buys you something, or what, it like you start to identify this unconditional love that you're seeking with this conditioned love that has abuse as part of it. So then as you grow into the authority figure now, and now you're relating to the next generation coming up, you unconsciously are abusing them, not almost, we could say, not even from a perspective of that you're wanting to hurt them or abuse them, but actually it's on some level a warped expression of unconditional love. The conditioned love that you've grown up to interpret as this unconditional love, now you're passing on. And so this is how crazy ancestral patterning can make us. So hopefully that's a little bit clear. But what I'm trying to express is the good news, because once we realize this, the first step, show me who I become. Once we realize this, that we're perpetuating a pattern that really stems from a desire to seek unconditional love, and then we can separate what unconditional love is from the conditioned love that we were given, then we can start to make choices. Then we can say, this isn't appropriate. This isn't the unconditional love I was seeking. I'm not going to perpetuate that conditioned love on the next generation. And so you have the ability to do something about it. Let's see. Joey says, having only lived 3 times on this planet, I'm pretty sure it's not the same family as the one I'm in now. How can that help me besides coming here to merge my soul back? Well, so again, it's not, your family is just, if you think about it, your, your flesh and blood family is just a package of cells that is the container through which the energy of your life flows through. So you don't have to have been born into the same family, so to speak. You're energetically drawn to the same energy streams, right? So your ancestral patterning, maybe generations back not so much in the same family, but from the same energy family that you found yourself moving into lifetime after lifetime. That's a little esoteric, and of course that's based on the philosophy of having past lives, again, which I buy into. But even if you don't, you look back on your ancestral family, and there's still some energetic thread there that's influencing you. It's in your DNA, and that's the DNA from that DNA was influenced by the former generation and the former generation before that and before that. So Anya, regarding previous lives, since working with ayahuasca, I discovered my attraction to Latin culture. Whenever I have an audience with Pachamama while doing the medicine, I always first hear Spanish radio as auditory. Isn't that just wild? Yeah. Or maybe that's Pachamama's primary language, since plants come from down there. Well, interestingly, yeah, the plant comes from down here, but Spanish wasn't the native language. You know, that was the language of the conquistadors, those who kind of oppressed this this region. And you know, not to take anything away of what you're saying, though, but no one else I know has had that experience. But yes, this is, you know, to me, these are clues where our lineage starts to come from, and what we can, and you know, the value of this is, what can we do about it? You know, what is this teaching me? What is this teaching you about yourself? And, you know, who have I become? Is this somebody, have I become somebody who's a light in the world? Or have I become somebody who in some way is oppressing others, is some way subjecting others to pain or harm or dysfunction or this or that, or subjecting yourself to these things? And you know, these revelations, these understandings of where you've come from in the past give you clues, and those clues are what we want to act on. All right. So is ayahuasca dangerous? Sarah Clark asks. Inherently, no. We'd say, especially done here at Rythmia, because we are a licensed, actually on paper and in function, a licensed medical facility with the state of Costa Rica, the country of Costa Rica, which means we have to have 24/7 medical staff, 24/7 psychological staff. We have an ICU unit, you know, filled with the medical necessities. But beyond that, it's you know, the plant medicine itself comes from the earth. It's non-addictive. It's you know, from what I understand, people can even take it pregnant. There's many ayahuasca babies running around in this world. It doesn't affect, you know, it's not something that's going to cause the babies to be diseased or dysfunctional or mentally challenged or physically challenged. So inherently, it's not dangerous. What you want to be prepared for, though, is how dangerous are you? You know, who are you inside? And as that comes forward, is that going to scare you, or are you going to be ready to accept that? And that's the real crux of, you know, if anybody has a negative experience on ayahuasca, we often say it's not the medicine that's scary, it's you that's scary. The medicine is just bringing out who you are, what you are, and many of us aren't ready to face that. We're like trying to shield ourselves from that. So recognize that, and hopefully that helps you there. Debbie, I encourage watching the Truth documentary. It's on Rythmia's YouTube channel. Yeah, the reality of truth Debbie's referring to. The reality of truth will really give you a great insight into ayahuasca and such. As you know, I've done the medicine a number of times, but I'm not the expert on it. I'm more the breathwork expert. Amber, I feel as though I was birthed into my current family to heal very deep ancestral wounds surrounding religion and self-governing, also to heal much of the female energy that's been driven downwards and away from creativity. What is a good first goal to have with people who do not understand collective consciousness and still compete with me or dismiss our creative actions as unnecessary or not making enough money. There's a lot there. So I'm not, so what's a good first goal to have? Good first goal is to take care of things on your own level. As you're saying, you were birthed in your current family to heal very deep ancestral wounds. So let's get into what that looks like, especially with the breath work. And just Maritza, I'll say it is advised not to be on any prescription meds if taking ayahuasca. Yes, it is advised. In fact, you will not be allowed to come to Rythmia until you're 30 days off your prescription meds. So back to how to heal those ancestral patterns, all right? So the key is to recognize we're all coming from unconditional love. Then, recognize that these patterns aren't you, and they aren't even the people that perpetuated these patterns. But these patterns have been overlaid onto you and onto your ancestors. Make a conscious intention at first to be free from them. So the first thing to do is mentally align with your desire that something's going to be different. So that you are going to act and behave, as we're looking at Amber's situation, in a way that's going to perpetuate a new perspective on what was it? Religion, self-governing, and the feminine energies. All right, so then you want to start getting into a session, a ceremony, and in Rythmia, we do two kinds of ceremonies. We do the breathwork ceremonies and we do the plant medicine ceremonies. I'm specifically tuning into the breathwork ceremonies here. So in the breathwork ceremony, we use a pattern of breathing called the transformational breath, where we use a full, free, and fluid breath pattern. Full, meaning that we take full inhales. We use our full respiratory capacity. Free, meaning it's relaxed, that especially on the exhale, we're just letting go. We're just, and fluid or connected breath patterning, meaning that the breath keeps going like a flowing river. Flowing river never stops in its tracks and then keeps going. It's always moving. It's always flowing. So the breath is the cyclical pattern. It's a cycle. It's a rhythm. Rythmia, rhythmic rhythm of breath. And doing this breath pattern then starts to activate the life force energy within us. As we activate that life force energy, then what I recommend with this specific ancestral patterning, start to tune into the heart. Start to tune in with activating the unconditional love. So we're actually bringing that life force energy in through the breath pattern, and we're focusing it, concentrating it in the heart, so that we're activating the nature of unconditional love. So as this gets activated then, and we continue to breathe, what the breath work also does is starts to bring patterns to the surface. So if you've got a pattern of self-loathing or self-doubt, that's going to come to the surface. The whole method is to allow that to the surface, let it be met by the unconditional love, and be held there. It's, this pattern isn't our enemy. This pattern isn't something that we're trying to fight and get away with. It's something that you're simply allowing to be there and continuing to breathe with, continuing to inundate with this higher vibrational life force energy till the vibrational frequency of this pattern is raised, or what we call entrained, to that higher vibrational frequency of the life force. And it's like it's dissolved. The pattern finally becomes dissolved and let go of. And then you continue to breathe, you continue to work until a new pattern starts to arise. And again, so the important, very important part here is that we don't fight with that. We don't try to make that pattern wrong and get rid of it and wrestle with it. There's a joke that goes around with that, wrestling with our stuff, wrestling with our patterns is like wrestling with a pig. You know, you just get dirty and the pig loves it. All right, so if you get the joke, basically here, it's that as we wrestle with these patterns, it like we give them power. Where, you know, as we fight with them, we actually are you know, focusing more on those patterns. So the idea is just to allow the pattern to arise, meet it with that unconditional love, continue to breathe higher vibrational energy into it until it entrains that frequency and that pattern dissolves. This is the basic process of the breath work, and even with the medicine, is to, you know, is not to struggle with it. It's the struggle, the resistance of that brings about the pain and the suffering. So the more we can just let go and be in that patterning, the better. Let's see if there's Christian. My daughter wants to try ayahuasca when she turns 18. She has no problem, but she would like to try after hearing my incredible miraculous experience there at Rythmia. I believe I can help everybody at any age. I'm keen to try. What do you think? I think that's quite all right, Claudia. You know, we just here have the 18-year age limit. You know, in some of the native traditions, they start ayahuasca at 4 years old. And they might just give them a thimbleful and all that. But I think it's very proper and astute to wait till age 18, and when if she still wants to do it, then bring her on down. You know, and if you don't, you know, if people are concerned about the ayahuasca, come to one of our breathwork weeks. That's a great introduction. In fact, this is why the program works so well. The breathwork is what you do at the beginning of the week, and it introduces you to the transformation that can take place powerfully with just the breath. Then you go into the plant medicine, which seems to, like, you know, up the ante a lot. And then by the end of the week, you start to see, you come back to the breath work, you start to see that actually all the transformation was within you and is within you already, all the time. The plant medicine just gave you a new perspective. It shook you out of your normal frame of reference so that you could see it from a different angle. Now that you see it from a different angle, you can actually employ that life force energy through the fundamental techniques that we have available to us, the breathwork being the main one. So hopefully that's helpful there. Greg, I have a blood disorder called PVERA for short. My DNA is producing reaction. Okay. Feel that it's a belief I hold that needs to go, and ayahuasca has been calling me to come here and do the work. Well, Greg, that I'd say, you know, follow the calling. Miraculous things have happened here. I mean, Rythmia is built on the attainment of miracles. We have a 95% miracle attainment rate, and this is, you know, things like this: physical miracles, mental miracles, heart miracles, miracles of changing a perspective, transforming our lives for the better. So get on down here. I was there 3 weeks ago. Could I get access to the music you use? Jeanette, are you talking about the breathwork music? If you are, and you signed up on the list I sent that to you just yesterday, actually, last night. I was a little late, sorry on that. But if you're talking about the ayahuasca music, the ceremony music, you can get that through the Rythmia Life program, which you'll have to come back to get. Does ayahuasca help relieve anxiety or ADHD? Yes. Thank you, Jeanette. Yes. Yes. So if you said yes because it was the breath music, should have sent it to you if you gave me your email address. If you didn't, and if you don't get it, friend me on Facebook after and remind me. Send me a message that says, you know, I was looking for the music, and we'll make that happen. Greg, thank you and blessings. Thank you, Greg. Oh, you didn't sign up for the breathwork. So Jeanette, like I said, send Facebook friend me afterwards. It's a good time to pause and say, if you'd like to carry the conversation on with me personally on any level, beyond these Facebook Lives, beyond Rythmia. Of course, you can always come to Rythmia, and here I am live, but you can friend me on Facebook, R Christian Minson, the letter R Christian Minson, and my only caveat is if you do that, send me a message along with it that says why you're friending me. If you do that, you will be first in priority for me to accept the friend request. If you don't do that, I don't just automatically accept friend requests. I have to research who the person is, and that takes an incredibly long amount of time, and I've got a huge backlog of people who I haven't friended yet because I'm still working through that. So if you send me a message, I make the connection, and I friend you, and then we can carry on that conversation. What's the Rythmia Life program? The Rythmia Life program is the aftercare program that we have here. It's our best attempt at packaging the Rythmia experience. Comes with an ayahuasca tincture to keep you in the energetic frequency of the medicine. It comes with portal access to our all of our classes, the thought leaders that come through here, the classes that we give, the breathwork classes, guided breathwork sessions, yoga classes. Twice a month we have live interactive calls with our resident psychologist, Dr. Jeff. So that's available. And then Jerry, the CEO here, does a unique thing called Truthonomics, which is his manifestation course. That's in the package. He doesn't give it here. He doesn't give it out in the world. It's only available on that. So if you come here, you want to make sure you go home with that. My friend Maureen was there in May. It helped her so much. Her transformation was incredible. Thank you, Ronald, for that. Claudia, I would like to become a breathwork facilitator. Which course can you suggest to me? That, again, is something I can take up with you. If you friend me on Facebook and ask me that question there, I give courses independent of Rythmia. But right now, for this Facebook Live, we'll focus on what I'm doing with Rythmia. Oh, that's so cool. Awesome. Christine, thanks. And Sarah, Felisa just joined. All right, so that catches us up on the questions and such. So, I've given you a little bit of a way, how we work with the breath. Now, I don't necessarily expect you to do this on your own. In fact, I would caution you to do it on your own, not because there's anything inherently dangerous about breath work doing it on your own, but as you do it and your energetic stuff comes up, you can be in a space. It can be a trying space because a lot of the stuff is a little bit darker. And again, nothing dangerous about that, but sometimes we get a little freaked out if there's not help. So I usually recommend at first that you do this breath work either in a setting like Rythmia or seminars like I offer, or you find yourself a facilitator in your area to help you do this, or you do very short sessions. So you can do the process that I was talking about, full breath, relaxed breath, and fluid connected breaths for about 5 minutes. If you do a 5-minute session, that'll start some clearing happening, and it'll be a lot more gentle, and ideally it's not going to activate you so much. But as you do this process, you can, with the breath work and with plant medicine, you can actually rewrite your DNA. In fact, we had one person here, we've had a number of people here who've seen their DNA and rewritten it, but one story that we often talk about, a woman came and she was in ceremony one night, and in her ceremony, she saw her chest open up. She saw the DNA helix come out. She saw, in the helix, little Lego blocks that were black in there in different spots. And she saw those black blocks getting removed and these iridescent, colorful blocks getting put back in. And so this was her visual representation of her healing her DNA, which is healing those ancestral patterns at a DNA level. And then when everything was repaired, the helix went back in her chest, and it zipped back up nicely. And the next day, she reported the story and just told us about how good she's been feeling and how good she's been feeling ever since. So stuff like this happens here, and it's, you know, the crazy is the norm. The fantastical, the otherworldly is the norm around here. So, you know, when we do this, when we really work to heal these ancestral patterns, the results are multifold and very positive. You're no longer ultimately driven by an impulsive or compulsive nature in this pattern of behavior. Instead, as your identification with this pattern is broken, there still may be the energy in that pattern there, but you are now more fully present in the moment. You can assess the situation. You can assess the characters in your current situation. You can assess the uniqueness of that situation. And instead of just reacting in an old, habitual, and patterned way, you actually have an opportunity to respond, to take in all the factors into account and formulate a proper response, which usually is more edifying. It's usually more gentle. It's usually more, you know, consolidating, bringing people together. It's usually more motivated by love rather than just reactive. So what really can result here is a new sense of flow in your life, a beauty, a sense that, you know, life is now on track, and you can do, you can get on track with your money can start to flow, your relationships can start to blossom and move, and you can start getting on track with that life purpose and that, you know, the reason that you came here, without being dogged by all those patterns. So, you know, the last thing that, you know, I want to leave you with is just to think for a moment, what if all of us took the time to dive into these ancestral patterns? What would the world really look like? You know, if all of us, you know, going back again to like some of these world conflicts, if people on either side of these conflicts, you know, cleared their ancestral patterning, then they came together and said, all right, I'm this person of this generation and you're this person of this generation. What are we really fighting about? What are our real differences? And can we work them out in a different way? Do we have to bomb each other? Do we have to shoot each other? You know, can we actually make this, you know, solve these conflicts? And I dare say when we clear these patterns away, so many more options become available. You know, with the patterns, we're stuck in this rut, and we have to keep, you know, we have to maintain that rut. Unconsciously, we're maintaining it, but we're staying in that rut. Now we've filled in the rut, and now we have all of the lay of the land to navigate through. And this is the real value of healing these ancestral patterns, so that we can not only come to peace within ourselves, but we start to bring peace, tranquility, and that sense of unconditional love to the world around us. But it starts within, starts with you first, then it starts with your immediate environment, your friends, your family, your coworkers, and all that. Then it starts to spread to your city, your town, your country, the world at large. So come to Rythmia and get one of these ancestral pattern makeovers, eh? So with that, let's just tune in. Claudia saying thank you. Great information. Thanks for saying that, Deborah. And no more extra things here. So we've used up a good amount of time today on the subject. I appreciate you all listening to me. I think next week I'll be talking about my monastic life. Every once in a while, people want to know about that. They're very intrigued by that facet of my life. So every month, every couple months, I try to make a segment on just going into some deeper facets of that and give people some insight into what that lifestyle is like and the motivations behind it and such. So tune in next week for that subject. And, I really just want to encourage you to call this number, just even to get information. Call them and ask them any questions you've been asking me here and deeper, they can answer for you. Your questions about what is Rythmia really, how does it work, what's the pricing, all that kind of stuff, what are the rooms like, and just give you more information to decide if you want to come here. This really is, this is quickly becoming a phenomenon. And I dare say you just see in the next year to 2 years, Rythmia is going to be something that everybody wants to do, and very few are going to get to do because there's going to be a waiting list. So now is really the time to get in, I'd say, and with the least hassle anyway. And it's the transformation here. I've lived and worked in the field of transformation for the last 25 odd years. I've lived, as a monk, I said, and working on myself, and I just see how this environment really gives people a shortcut to awakening. I mean, the work, there's still work to do for the rest of your life, but man, if you don't have to, if you can shortcut that process of really understanding what work it is that you have to do for the rest of your life, I can't think of anything more valuable in your life, that impacts your relationships, your love, your finances, your just quality of life in general. So get on down to Rythmia. Gary's planning a trip from the UK soon. Beautiful. We've got people coming from all over the world. Can't wait to hear about that. That's about the monk thing. Great. And Joey's, thank you, Joey. Akasha, it's possible to take the process in Spanish language. No, we don't have, currently. That's call the number and ask them here. Most of our facilitators are gringos like myself, meaning we're not, some of us are more fluent in Spanish than others, but we generally don't do a bilingual thing. There are plenty of Spanish-speaking staff here, and if you could get a translator to be along with you, it might work that way. But call the number and find out there. Colleen says, I think if people truly did that, they would realize we are actually not separate at all. In fact, we're all one people. Yeah, and that's the divine leader. And that's a great point, because you remember what I said in the beginning. I said that all this ancestral patterning really stems from identification with certain subsects of life. I'm of this family, I'm of this religion, I'm of this culture, I'm of this nationality, and as we do that, we exclude those that aren't of that, and so we start to create this separation. So when we really realize that we're all just one, when we let go of the identification with any particular part of life and just recognize that we're part of all of life, then the healing happens so much quicker. So thanks for bringing that up, Colleen. And then Myra, thank you, Christian. So very grateful for you. And I'm grateful for you too, being here and having come here. And Claudia, grateful for the work. Thanks. Thank you all. All right, so this is our Christian Minson signing off for this week. Rythmia Live about healing ancestral patterns. We'll see you next week when we talk about the monastic life. Tune in Fridays at 1 p.m. Costa Rican time, 11 a.m. California time. All right, over and out. See you next week.